This is the Ellis Martin Report and Money Talk Radio. ES Gold Corp is a fully permitted pre-production resource company at the forefront of clean mining and exploration innovation. With proven expertise in Quebec, Canada, the company is advancing its projects toward production and feasibility while delivering long-term value through sustainable resource recovery and exploration. ES Gold's flagship Montauban property, located 80 kilometers west of Quebec City, serves as a model for responsible mining practices, combining near-term production with district-scale discovery potential. The company will begin production by processing substantial tailings at the Anacon Lead 1 tailing site of the Montauban mine property. The company trades on the CSE as ESAU and in the U.S. on the OTCQB under the symbol ESAUF. That's ESAUF. I think it's more than appropriate to speak with someone who's invested in the company to learn why ES Gold might be worth taking a serious look as an addition potentially to your investment portfolio. Today we're chatting with an active investor in ES Gold, Marco Stefani. Mr. Stefani is also a consultant and involved with corporate development for ES Gold. Marco, welcome to the program. It's great to visit with you today.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Before I ask you why you became an investor in the company, if you don't mind, give me a background on ES Gold.
Well, in simple terms, ES Gold is a tailings company and an exploration company, but most important, it's working its way up to become a producer, which is something that caught my eye when I first found out about the company.
Now tell me why, out of all the companies in the mining universe, all the exploration, development, and production companies, why you selected ES Gold to invest in.
That's a great question too, right? Because I work in the business, when a company hires me and I don't necessarily invest in their stock. So I met Paul Mastantuono years ago, and he started explaining to me about this company that he's put together. And he's telling me it's a tailings company, so I wasn't too interested. But then he started explaining to me how they spent quite a bit of money. At that time, I think it was close to 13 million, if not more. And he started explaining how they put the roads in, power lines are in, and they built the building where this production facility is going to be. At that time, they didn't have the equipment yet. It was just in the works. But then he says to me that we're fully permitted. And I thought, okay, big deal. So I did myself a little bit of investigation. I find out there's about 3,000 exploration companies in Canada, approximately, right? And then I find out that there's less than 30 that are producers. So I said to myself, okay, hang on a second here. All these companies, and there's only 30 producers, why don't they just go out and apply for a permit? So then I find out in the province of Quebec, to get a permit, not only can take you up to 7 years, it can cost you close to $10 million today. That is crazy. So that's when I said, okay, these guys got something. So I started to invest in that company. I kept at it, and I've been going at it with this company for quite some time because I kind of feel that I've invested in so many exploration companies, and they go out there, they drill, they don't hit, you're gone. Here's a company that's sitting on top of tailings that has X amount of gold and silver there, plus whatever exploration they're going to do, which we can get into that. And they've got their building up and they're looking towards being a producer. To me, that's something that can be a winner. So that's why I invested in that company.
This was a mine 110 years ago or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's why there's tailings left over, right? And that mine, many, many years ago, I think they did it for, I don't know if it was for nickel, for steel, whatever. I think it was for the war effort. But yeah, it's been closed down for many, many years. The land was there, the tailings are sitting at the top, and there's a lot more left over.
Is there a defined resource in the tailings?
Absolutely. So if you look at their PEA, they've identified there's at least $77 to $80 million worth of silver, gold, and mica there. But that's just the tailings on the surface. Then they've got surface rock. There's about 1,000 metric tons of surface rock, but they did a 43-101. They did some tests on 400,000 metric tons of that surface rock, and there they found about $160 million worth of gold and silver. So just on the surface with the surface rock and the tailings, you got about 260 million US of gold and silver just sitting there waiting to be processed.
What are the comparables with your peer companies potentially when you do become a producer?
That's a good question because that's part of the reason why I am an investor and I stick to this company. Just to give you an example, there's a company out there, it's called Gold Resources. Back in, I think, 2012 or something like that, they were, I think, sitting around 25, 30 cents, let's say. They had approximately 125 million shares issued and out, and a $31 million market cap. And it was the same scenario. It's a tailings company. And this one's out of Mexico. So when they finally got got their mill built and they got into production, I mean, the stock shot up to close to $4. And I thought, okay, hang on a second here. If there's one of those stocks where you say, I wish you would have known before they became a producer, these are the kind of examples I like to try to explain, right? Because even today, Gold is sitting close to $2, like $1.90 or something like that. But they've got 380 million shares issued now, and it's still a far cry from where they started. So I kind of think that that's what I look in for a really good investment, where I get involved in something that's not a producer as of yet, but working their way towards becoming a producer. And ES Gold is very, very close to doing that.
And look, you have somewhere around, is it 55 million shares out right now? Is that right?
Yeah, right now it shows 55, but don't forget the company just raised not too long ago about 3.4 million. So there will be some more stock issued, but they're very low. If you look at most companies out there, this company's pretty tight.
So essentially, and this is a very forward-looking statement that I'm going to make, you're biased, you're an investor in the company, you work for the company, I'm biased, you're a paid sponsor, but this is potentially, according to the scenario you just outlined with Go Gold, and they have a much larger share structure, we could potentially be looking at a 10-banger.
You know what? I hope so, because I'm a big investor. And that's what I love to see. Obviously, you always have to do your own due diligence. You got to look into everything yourself. You can't take my word for it or anybody's word for it. But being in the business for as long as I have and seeing some companies, you struggle to try to find that right one. I just kind of look at, you got this company that's been there for quite some time now, building everything, putting everything together, nice and slow. They got the building up. Oh, one thing maybe I didn't mention is after I became an investor, and started helping out with the company, helping them raise some money. They do have, most of the equipment is already in the building. To get any closer, I mean, this is where we're going, right? So I kind of look at it that the company's still basically on ground floor. When they finish building that mill, it will be a producer. And that's where everything changes. It's no longer an exploration company. But you got to understand that another good thing about ES Gold for me is that it is still an exploration company. They've staked out, I think, about 240 properties surrounding the Montauban project. So they've got about 13,000 hectares of property. And then there's going to be some exploration done. And there is some historical data on some of these places that we've staked out that does show that there is something there. And historical data is out there. It's in the public eye, and it does show more gold. But you got a company that's going to become a producer and then continue exploration to prove up more and more silver and gold. To me, you can't go wrong. It's something that I really appreciate in an investment.
And I think hypothetically, we don't know for a fact, but revenue from the tailings, that will drive further exploration.
Absolutely. The second that they become a producer, they no longer have to raise any money. Once the company is in production, you got to understand, with gold at $3,300 an ounce and silver at $32 an ounce, they don't have to raise money anymore. It's just money coming in on a monthly basis. And with the exploration, it just keeps going and going. I'm pretty sure just the tailings and the surface rock, I think they've got like at least 10 years of mining there. It's incredible. Can't wait till they get to the point where they're into production. Every shareholder will be rewarded once they're in production.
Marco, it's been great visiting with you today. I look forward to future conversations with you. Thank you so much for joining me today on the program.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Today I've been speaking with Marco Stefani, an investor and consultant with ES Gold, trading on the CSE as ESAU and in the US on the OTCQB as ESAUF. That's ESAUF. Do the research and learn more about the company. Go to their website, esgold.com. For Money Talk Radio, I'm Ellis Martin. ES Gold is a paid sponsor of the Ellis Martin Report and Money Talk Radio.